Hi, I'm Landy, and I help busy moms stop peeing their pants. And it's something a lot of us don't talk about, but it's really common. And it's not normal. You do not have to live with peeing your pants just because you're a mom. So today I want to talk about the kegel. So you go to your OB, you go to your midwife, you could talk to, whoever your provider is, and the most common recommendation is we'll do more kegels. And that's great if you have a truly weak pelvic floor. But if your pelvic floor is too tight, it's going to create more problems for you. And that's why when you start doing all your kegels, you actually can see an increase in your symptoms or you don't see a change because it's not the right remedy that you need. And so if you're having issues, what you should do is see a trained pelvic floor therapist who can assess the internal muscles of your vagina to see if there's tightness, because often that's it. And if you then know that you have a too tight of pelvic floor, there's different exercises that you need to work on versus if you have a weak pelvic floor. So really knowing what is going on is key. Now, a lot of OBs and midwives aren't trained to be assessing the muscles. They're trained to see if there's anything going on wrong with there, but they're not looking at the muscles and their tension and knowing how they should work. So, if you're experiencing issues, get a referral to your pelvic floor therapist or call your pelvic floor therapist to really see what's going on before you jump into a bunch of kegels and create more issues. So, what is a kegel? So a kegel, most of us think of, is that contraction. So we do pelvic floor contraction, 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 right? So where is the most common place to do kegels? Like the car, at a stoplight. Like how many people do it in a sitting position as they're waiting for something? Waiting to pick your kids up at school, waiting at the stoplight. There's something that you're waiting for and you go, oh, I'll throw in a few kegels. Well, what is the most common position that you're sitting in your car? Here, I'm gonna tip you down so you can see. We're slumped. So this, you can see how my pelvis tips backwards instead of tipping up and in a neutral position, so I can tip it way forward too. But we want that nice neutral position. Now, if I'm in that nice neutral position, then everything's aligned and I'm gonna have a more effective kegel. If I'm slumped, I'm not in alignment and I'm not gonna have an effective kegel. So really, I'm not doing any benefit. The other part is, so we need a nice, long, lean position. The other part of it is most of us just do contractions. We don't get the full range of motion. So if you went to your doctor and you said, I'm having trouble lifting my kiddo, and he said, I want you to do 100 bicep crunches a day. Now, what would happen to that muscle? That muscle is going to get shortened, it's going to get tighter, but you're not going to get stronger. You're not going to be able to pick up your child any better because you're going to have tight muscles than you were before. What you need is that full range of motion. So if your doctor had said, okay, now do a bicep curl. So you're going to go fully out, extending that muscle, and then flexing. So we're getting a full range of motion. Now that's key, and that's what most of us are missing with our kegel, is the full range of motion. And so what we're going to do today is teach you how to do a kegel correctly so that we can really start benefiting your pelvic floor. How do you do a kegel correctly? Well, you're going to sit long and lean. That's going to be key. It really is. The more you can sit long and lean throughout the day, the more you're actually using your core and your deep core muscles to help stabilize, the stronger they're going to get. Better alignment is just going to be better for you. And I know it's hard. Think 90% of the day you want to try to be long and lean. 10% of the day, if you're going to slump, you're going to slump. So, long and lean posture. Now, our body should work like a piston. So what we do is we have our respiratory diaphragm up here. We have our pelvic floor down here. As we take an inhale, our lungs expand, our respiratory diaphragm shifts downward to allow more room. As it's shifting downward, it's pushing on our abdominal contents, and that's pushing down and goes into our pelvic floor. Now, our pelvic floor should naturally relax down to give more room. So we're working like a piston. So we inhale down, exhale, everything recoils and comes back up. Inhale down, everything bounces back up. And that's ideal. Now, somewhere in pregnancy, things got disconnected, and it's often in pregnancy, but it can be for other reasons, such as the exercises we're doing. that we get too tight of pelvic floor. Now, it can be a lot of kegels, it can be a lot of kickboxing, things like that really engage your pelvic floor. Can create too tight of a pelvic floor. So just like any muscles that you're working, if you're getting too tight of muscles, you need to be able to balance them out so that you can relax them and be able to have that full working range. So what happens when we have that too tight of pelvic floor? We inhale, our respiratory diaphragm lowers, our abdominal contents lower, and then we hit our pelvic floor, which remains stationary because it's too tight, and squish. So we have pressure. Pressure has to go somewhere. That squish, it finds wherever the weakest link in your body is. That could be the diastasis recti, that split in your abdominals. It could be your pelvic floor, and out comes a little bit of pee. And so regulating that pressure is going to be key. The way we're going to do that is helping you have an effective Kegel. So we don't want that pressure to come out. So another way is that we actually have our pelvic floor that is synced backwards. So instead of having an inhale and everything goes down, we inhale and your pelvic floor lifts, and then we create even more pressure, and that can create even more leaks. So that can happen, especially if you're exercising and you're having a heavy respiration and your pelvic floor is coming up. That can be a lot of that. Or holding your breath as you're doing an exercise move, that can create a lot of pressure, creating leaks. So that's what we want to avoid. So we're going to sit long and lean. You're going to take a nice big inhale, so inhale in. You're going to feel your pelvic floor lower, and so you want to see, can I feel it relax? So inhale. Can I feel my pelvic floor relax? If you can't, it's okay. There's a disconnect. We know there's a disconnect, and we're here to fix it. So it takes 21 days to rewire the brain, and that's what we're doing. We're laying a new neural pathway or dusting off an old one, and we're getting things working efficiently to, again, so that your pelvic floor is supporting you instead of hurting you. So we're gonna go inhale. Can you feel your pelvic floor relax and lower? That's gonna be the first step. If you can't, visualize it. So visualize your pelvic floor lowering with every inhale. The next part of it is that as you exhale, you're going to feel your pelvic floor lift and engage. Now, it doesn't have to be a full, forceful crunch. We can bring those in later. Right now, we're just working on engaging your pelvic floor with your breath. So inhale, relax. Exhale, feel it lift and engage. Inhale, relax. Exhale, lift and engage. Now, if you're doing this full range of motion, if you have too tight of a pelvic floor, you're going to be working on getting that pelvic floor to relax. And if you have a weak pelvic floor, then you're going to be working on your pelvic floor to lift and engage. And that's key. Now, if you're having trouble feeling your pelvic floor, there might be something more going on. And so contacting me or another pelvic therapist is going to be key to making sure that you're doing the exercises correctly and that you're doing the right exercise for your body. If you have any questions, it's Landy Peak, and you can reach me at peakpossibilities@gmail.com or possibilitiesot.com, and I look forward to talking to you soon.